that 5 minutes?
No. I already talked to you.
That always takes a long roast to roast.
Nothing's ever
All right, I watched stuff.
40 minutes? All right, 35 minutes off, Rusty.
Oh, yeah,
Wasn't me that said it was gonna be 5 minutes.
Yes. Wait, there you go.
You turn the video back on?
Yep, it's on. Well,
Mr. Mayor.
I'll give a little background on this. Since the last special meeting, which was last Tuesday, the New York State Department of Health visited us, and we've had some challenges, and the board as a whole has realized that we really need to look at this whole operation of the EMS and fire department. We've been studying pretty hard, and we have a resolution in front of us to advance the effective date from May 1st to April 2nd. And Rusty can read the resolution.
Are you ready? And the whereases? Nate, I'm doing whereases.
Yeah, I think that's...
Okay. Whereas the village board of the Village of Owego at a meeting on March 4th, 2019 authorized the creation of an emergency medical services EMS department pursuant to General Municipal Law Section 122B to take effect May 1st, 2019, and whereas by that same resolution, the village board directed the mayor of the Village of Owego, with assistance from the fire chief of the fire department and those individuals providing ambulance service through such fire department, to prepare and recommend to the village board an organizational chart, bylaws, procedures, and guidelines for the regulation and oversight of such EMS department. And whereas the mayor has presented and recommended to the village board an organization chart for the regulation and oversight of the EMS department, as well as a proposed budget for the remainder of the 2018-19 fiscal year. And whereas a group of individuals currently providing ambulance service through the fire department have notified the Village of Owego regarding their willingness as an unincorporated association to provide volunteer services to the village through its EMS department, and proposed bylaws regarding their internal governance. And whereas the village board has determined that implementing the EMS department prior to the previously anticipated May 1, 2019 date is desirous, and whereas the village board has reviewed the environmental significance of adopting the foregoing and determined in accordance with 6 NYCRR 615-5 that such an action would constitute a Type 2 action requiring no further review in accordance with subsection C26 and 33. Now therefore be it resolved that the village board of the Village of Owego hereby authorizes the Emergency Medical Services Department of the Village of Owego to begin operations effective as of April 2nd, 2019, and be it further resolved that until April 2nd, 2019, emergency medical services shall continue to be provided through the fire department in accordance with previously established rules, regulations, and guidelines, except that no further suspensions of emergency rescue squad volunteers and paid employees shall take place without village board approval. The emergency rescue squad members and paid employees are to keep the fire chief informed of their operations and activities, but otherwise be overseen and report directly to the mayor regarding their operations and activities, and any disputes between the emergency squad members and paid employees and other fire department volunteers shall be presented to the mayor for decision. And be it further resolved that the mayor is directed to propose on April 1st, 2019, a line item budget generally appropriating the sweep fund monies previously appropriated for emergency medical services through the fire department, and an additional $45,659 for funding the EMS department through the end of the 2018-19 fiscal year, and the mayor, in consultation with the fire chief, is directed to prepare and recommend a specific line item reduction in the fire department's 2018-19 annual budget reflecting such amount, and be it further resolved that said EMS department shall consist of one volunteer captain who shall report directly to the mayor and village board, and as many other individuals as may be designated by the village board from time to time, and such paid employees as authorized by the village board from time to time. And be it further resolved that the EMS department captain shall, after the initial appointment of an active captain, as described herein, serve one-year terms beginning May 1 of each calendar year, and be chosen by the volunteer members of the EMS department, subject to review and approval by the village board. And be it further resolved that the mayor is directed to propose on April 1st, 2019, in consultation with the proposed EMS department acting captain, operating procedures and guidelines for the regulation and oversight of the EMS department. And be it further resolved that the EMS department shall be based from and operate out of the village of Owego's central fire station in such space as designated by the mayor of the village of Owego, in consultation with the fire chief and EMS captain regarding the needs of their respective departments. And be it further resolved that the individuals listed as members of the unincorporated association attached hereto are hereby authorized, approved, and accepted as volunteers of the EMS department effective April 2, 2019. And be it further resolved that the following positions are hereby authorized and the following individuals appointed as acting in such positions effective April 2, 2019, until such time as the volunteer members of the EMS department hold their annual elections, and such individuals are approved by the village board, being Captain Robin Schaefer and Co-Captain James Hoover. And be it further, that's it. And be it further resolved that the village of Owego paid employees currently overseen by the fire chief shall, on the EMS department's operational effective date, be transferred to and overseen by the EMS captain. And be it further resolved that the mayor, fire chief, proposed acting EMS captain, and all other officers, employees, and volunteers of the village of Owego are instructed to cooperate in effecting this resolution to ensure the orderly transition of emergency medical services to the EMS department as of April 2, 2019.
Okay, that's the resolution. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. So, discussion.
You have a copy of that for the chief, since this really is going to impact us, or me as the chief tonight sitting here?
Yes,
We have to have a
Hopefully
revised
it's here,
version.
but yes, we'll get you a
yeah, we'll give you a copy. This is...
copy.
And I heard what you said, but I didn't hear all what you said.
I don't even know what it said.
Don't worry.
But it's not exactly all on this paper. We'll get you a copy of that. And one more piece of the discussion. Everybody got that last one, didn't they? About cooperation and orderly transition. Thank you.
And I, before anything, would like to thank, on the last 3 days, Robin and the fire chiefs, Eric and Jim Morris too. He helped a lot too. He was very helpful with the Department of State, the Department of Health from New York State. They are quite the people you don't want to tick off.
But he was wrong.
We won't get into that.
Just telling you he was wrong.
We won't get into that, but we are, from a resident standpoint, we maintain safety, and we are running an ambulance currently, so, with full narcotics and ALS status. So anyway, any other discussion on this resolution from the board? We'll vote. Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
And yes. What? Rotary? We'll do the Rotary next year.
Thanks for waiting for
Took the agendas. All right, sorry.
Everyone get the pack over?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Hi, I'm Judy Quigley. I'm the president of WeGo Rotary, and we sent everybody a packet to ask permission if we could, as part of our centennial project, purchase and plant 5 hybrid trees somewhere on village property. As you can see in the packet, Cornell University, a group at Cornell University has these hybrid trees, and they'd like to plant them in urban settings because they're specially designed to be, or they've been created to be appropriate for urban settings. So the Rotary would purchase the trees, transport them, and then work, if the village is agreeable, work with the village to pick 5 appropriate locations downtown, in the downtown area, to plant the trees. So there's an April 1st deadline that has been established by Cornell for us to be, able to be eligible for these trees. And this is just like the beginning of our project. Our plan is to plant a whole bunch of trees, but we had this opportunity, so we thought we'd better, move forward with that while we can. There's a lot of information in this packet about the size. They're 2 to 3 inch size, so they're large. They come in balls, and we would, have somebody pick them up and deliver them, and then work with whoever you wanted, Jeff or whoever, to get them in the ground. And there are some requirements about where, how big the area has to be and free of power lines, and of course dig safe has to be notified and all those things, but we're willing to do all that. But obviously they do have to be planted on municipal land. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about the project. We would be looking at doing this like the third, they're looking to have it done by the end of April, the planting in Cornell. So.
These are full-size trees?
They will eventually. Right now, they're just small trees. They're 2 to 3 inch trees, but they grow, I think 60 years, and they grow, like 50 to 60 feet. They're big, huge oak trees, so they'll grow big, but they come fairly large. They're not little teeny tiny saplings. They're fairly large. I think there's some pictures of them in their packet, and that's like about the size you're going to see initially, so they're not teeny tiny. And it does require some equipment to move around. They're 200 or 300 pounds of tree, so.
What was the time frame on this one?
We have to let her know by April 1st, and then we arrange for pickup and delivery, and they want them in the ground by, they're planting in April, and mid to late April.
And Rotary will incur the expense, and
Yes.
I just only have to, do you want us to plant them, or were you gonna?
We'll plant them, and we just need your permission to put them at various locations. I know that there are some, properties that were subject to buyout. There's some areas in Kanawani that probably could, use a little sprucing up. So, we would work with you all. We have a committee that has some master gardeners on it, and so, we're trying to do it the right way. We've talked about, we'll have to water them afterward. They need to be watered for 5 to 6 weeks. We're looking into getting the water bags and arranging for us to get there and get them watered and that kind of thing. So we would take responsibility for all that. We just really would be, having to give us permission to plant them on village property.
And at this time, we're not going to tell you, we're not going to decide at this time which properties are. We'll decide that.
No, we just need, as far as Cornell is concerned, they just want to make sure that we have your permission to move forward with it on certain, specific locations that we'll arrive at.
I'd make a motion that we partner with the WeGo Rotary Club for their tree project to allow them to plant oaks on
I
Second first.
would like to
Second first.
comment.
Second first.
Laura and Rusty. And then what's your comment?
I will second.
Well, with it really could not be in the business areas. Because those are way too big.
Yeah, they're big, they end up being big trees.
You know,
Yeah, they need at least a 6-foot space between the road and the sidewalk. They can't be power lines, so they have a lot of requirements that probably would prohibit them from being right downtown, so that's why we were looking more at, like, down by Crown Industries. There's some places in Martin Park, even one, and this is not, you know, on your property, but like on the county office building square there, you know, so there are other places, you know, we wouldn't put them somewhere where the canopy would be destroyed by cutting them for power lines and things like that.
Yeah, so we have two options here. We can either delegate the decision to Jeff as far as where to put these trees, or we can decide as a meeting, or you come with proposals and we could decide as a meeting. I don't know if you have the time for that, really. When do they have to be in the ground?
end of April.
We would have to, mid-April is probably what they're, mid to late April is what they were looking to plan.
So you have to revise that, whichever option you
Revise
want
that
to do.
to give Jeff guide where the trees can go.
You have to put them in the ground, though. You can't just say no.
As long as they're not in the berm area.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments about the trees?
Okay.
All right, so we'll vote on that motion, which is to have Jeff work with the Rotary to get this done. We'll get some trees in here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Charles?
Yes. Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And let me back up so we can, all the squad stuff. We did receive 3 appeal letters for the members currently suspended from this fire department. And we've really dug into this since we received the letters to find the procedure, if there was any, to how these appeals happen. So the way we're gonna proceed is, I'd like Rusty, Laura, and Charles to form a committee, and then we'll decide right now a date when both sides, the fire board and the individual, we can get the information together and then make a decision.
Can I make it easy for you as the chief? Just go on our website, look under the Articles of Incorporation, look up our bylaws. There's an appeals process plainly printed right there as to how to come to fire board. You have 10 days from the day of suspension to come to fire board to write a letter requesting a trial. You have 10 days to request a hearing. That wasn't done. This is how this works. We circumvent fire board, come to you guys. We have policies and procedures in place. They've been there for 150 years. And if you guys circumvent again what we're doing, then why do we have a fire department? Why do we have companies? Why are we authorized to do what we do? We are self-governing. We have governed. We had people that violated our rules, and fire board, not a chief, fire board handed down motions to suspend. Not one chief made a motion to suspend anybody. We went to executive discussion, came out of executive, membership of the board, which are voted on by the membership of the department to represent each company, made the motions to suspend these people. And some of these people have sat on fire board. They can open up the website just as easy as anybody else. And I think if you guys circumvent what we do, then why are we even here? If you want to take it over, just tell me. I'll hand you my coat right now, because I'm about had it.
So certainly, I hear your point. I don't think this is the forum to make that point. The mayor, I think, is appointing a committee to hear that. And you can say that to the committee. And that committee could make a decision that, yeah, it's untimely for these suspensions, or they'll go further past that and say, well, we think it's maybe not untimely, or we think that we should hear this, or even what it is. I mean, if your point is that you believe the village board has no authority to review appeals at all, then that you should make that point too.
Well, I think ultimately the village board is our boss as the chiefs and the membership of the department. But we have basically a pecking order, and it starts here and it goes up. You guys are at the top of the shelf, but we aren't working. The suspensions were not firematic or EMS related incidents. It was an internal fire department corporation. The fire department corporation is not overseen by the village. The village board has no say over the fire department corporation's business. We have money, we spend that money as we see fit. We don't come to the village to discuss how to spend our departmental money. And again, we have that. You could put a committee together, I don't care. I'll just open up the thing and let you read it. Anybody can go read it. It's public.
So again, I think you're making some distinction and some explanation or nuance that this isn't the place for the village board to make that decision. I think the individuals who were suspended and are appealing this are gonna possibly say that they disagree with you, and that's the whole point of having a committee to hear that.
That's
and
fine.
to make a decision. I mean, you're putting your case out there. I think the place to make your case.
I'm just stating those are our articles of incorporation, our bylaws. You guys can put all the committees you want, but I think if you go and read how we're structured, nowhere in it does it say the fire board of the village of Owego is subservient to the village of Owego village board.
Right, and again, the committee will review exactly what the scope of the suspension was, what did it apply to non-firematic or operational things, and therefore they were continued to allow to provide services to the village itself as volunteers, and exactly what all of that stuff is. Because again, I don't believe that the village board has all of the information other than there were some suspension letters, and now the village has received appeals of the suspension. So we're going to schedule a time and a place to listen to everybody and make their arguments. You're making your argument now, make it at that time.
That's fine. Come to fire board.
So, what time and place can you guys do?
What's good for you, Rusty?
I would
I could just about
suggest that
free up any time.
let me see who's here.
Everybody's here.
I would suggest that you allow, if that's all right with you, I would suggest you allow the three of us to speak with the various people and establish that.
That's fine with me. As long as they're okay with that. I don't want to call out really who they are.
That's fine. As long as, then ask them if that's...
I do have one question though. The resolution that was presented tonight, which has precedence? The suspensions or that resolution?
Would be the once, so if you're suspended from the fire department but want to volunteer for the EMS department after April 2nd, it's kind of a wash.
I disagree. If you're still a member of the fire department, you have to go by the fire department's governing authority. Now, if you can resign from the fire department and become just, as you say, a squad member, then there's nothing we can do. That's goodbye.
You can read that part.
Rusty, you look like you're gonna...
I really highly recommend you let the chiefs read this someday so we can understand
I'll
it.
get you a copy of this tomorrow.
About tonight, so I can sleep on it.
Because the problem tonight is the thing I have here has things that we did not pass in it. That's why you cannot have this.
All right.
And I can't.
That's fine.
Picture the-
I don't care.
So where were we just, if you, was it Kevin you asked?
Yes.
To your question, possibly if I'm addressing it, it said that no further suspensions shall take place. This resolution did not address the suspensions in order now.
That resolution accepted a list of volunteers.
Correct.
And that list of volunteers included people that are currently suspended from the...
to take effect on April 2nd.
Take effect on April 2nd.
Right, if you're on the list of individuals willing to volunteer for the EMS department, you would begin service April 2nd.
In 2 weeks. By the time the committee gets together,
I'd like to think,
it's over and done with.
I'd like to think, and I mean, that's gonna depend on the schedules of the people involved, that it could be handled this week.
I'm okay with whatever you guys want to do.
We're going to talk to you folks the next day or so and try to determine when we can get together and talk about this.
Okay.
Is that all right with you? Okay.
We'll make it happen ASAP.
That's not determining the resolution, that's just determining,
Yeah, I don't think there's any resolution.
that's not determining a resolution, that's determining a process.
All right. So anyway, I want to go back and do that before we forget about it. Our next item on the agenda is the Strawberry Festival Parade permit. I think Wendy didn't come. I talked to Wendy a lot today, and we're working with them and Jeff Winchell to put together a plan overall for the Strawberry Festival, so that it's documented what goes on and what doesn't go on, and where we need barricades, and how many people we need, and what streets are supposed to be closed, and where everything's supposed to go. So they're on board with that, and obviously we're on board with that. I don't think we can do their parade permit yet, though.
Well,
Right?
the
We
problem.
don't want to approve that yet, do we?
I want them to come to us with the
When do they
details.
need that parade permit, I suppose,
You
to
gotta go
get to DOT and all that?
Rodney,
They'd have to get it fairly soon.
they need to come to us with the details of what they want to do.
And then,
We'll have one next year.
next year,
Yeah,
yeah.
just do it.
And then we have a parade permit from St. Pat's. And they wrote a letter.
Mr. Mayor?
Uh-huh.
This is, I believe, an annual event where they walk from the Catholic Church down
To the
courthouse, and they do it on the sidewalks in general, and we generally have a couple of fire police at an intersection or two to help them along with it. That being said, I would move that we accept this parade permit.
I'll second that.
All right, and a vote, Fran?
Yes.
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 And yes. Did the tree project already? Oh, I was supposed to print that out. Board authorization for certified local government applications. So Nadine has worked with me to prepare a letter to the state to inform them that we are interested in getting our certified local government status back. And that's all done. I think this is just a motion to send a letter.
Motion, we send that letter.
Okay.
With the CLG.
I'll second.
Okay, and a vote?
Yes.
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 And yes. Yes, so I'll sign that and I'll send it out. Next item is parking on Main Street. And this was brought up by, I don't know the address, the old Everybody's Country Store. So, this has come up a couple of times. They want that parking designated 3-hour parking, so it can be enforced, which brings up a whole other topic of parking enforcement, which has been going on the last 2 days. Hasn't happened in the last 10 years. But Rusty?
Mr. Mayor. I'm under the impression that the person who originally wanted that is no longer a tenant there.
Do believe that's correct.
It is the opinion of some that it might not be the best idea for us to be we'll call it spot zoning, something like that, various places in the village that might have some business relationship with the limited parking, because the next person is going to want it in front of their store over here, in front of their thing on West Avenue. That would be my recommendation, that we do not do that.
Right now, there's only 3-hour parking in the central business district as a rule. And then there's certain hours you're not supposed to park overnight also. That's what the signs say in the law.
My recommendation would be that we not spot park that particular place.
How does the board feel about that one?
I would be pressed to agree with Rusty on that.
Okay.
Mayor, is your open for question?
Sure.
I'd like to know, and I don't know if Mr. Player could answer this, what is the current guidance you've received relative to enforcement of parking when it's after business hours?
I'm not certain on that. Tell you the truth. I can find out and get back to you.
Because the signs say one thing, but as a resident, I can tell you the actions are to the contrary.
Right.
So that's
I know
why
signs can be confusing when it comes to parking. I used to live in Brooklyn.
The signs say, what, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., 3-hour parking, right?
It's Sunday and Thursday.
no overnight parking between 2 and 5.
Right.
It's not, it's pretty inconsistent.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked.
So parking as a general thing has come up a lot. It was the #1 survey response answer on the DRI. And we've had a lot of parking studies done in the village. And the outcome of every single one of them is that it's a parking perception problem and or a parking enforcement problem as far as the turnover of spaces in front of stores downtown. If you want to go to a restaurant and you want to find a parking spot, drive down there. If you can't park within half a block, you go to a different restaurant, right? So part of that's enforcement as far as turning the cars over. But we probably should warn everybody, since it hasn't been enforced before, that we're going to start enforcing it.
We'll make a motion that everybody that lives in the village must ride a bike. We could put up bike racks all over the place.
That's in the DRI, bike racks.
Yeah. Well, I see that.
Scooters, you know, the two-wheel electric.
Yes, the rentable scooters, right? Yeah.
You got the candles.
Cantor has all.
Bike racks out there.
Even Cantor has the scooters.
Well, they have bicycles, it's green.
Green light.
Yeah, you rent a bike, yeah.
No, once the DRI is final, and we won't get the final on it till sometime this summer.
Right.
Start working on the plans with the parking and so on, and that's gonna be some of the issues as far as, you know, how do we plan for tenant parking?
That has come up.
That has to be incorporated into it.
Well,
It's very
Most of the
muddy now.
comments I've gotten related to the enforcement of the parking is they gave out 30 some tickets the first day. And I got a couple of complaints, mostly about where do my tenants park or where do residents park. There's no real good spot unless you want to walk pretty far. I do believe you can park in the county lot, which is off of Park Street, longer than 3 hours. And I'm not sure about overnight, but possibly.
that's the question. It's not clear.
Right. Rusty?
So I assume that we're going to have sooner than later discussions about what we're going to do about parking. I would expect reasonably soon, and we're not going to be waiting for the DRI initiatives and monies and things in the summer. We'll do that soon. And we have a large parking ordinance, and we will be more than happy to talk with you.
I would love to be a part of it.
But
Yeah.
that being said, we're now going to go back to what we're working on at this moment.
Yeah, so overall, I mean, the DRI has addressed that we need to look at that parking ordinance, and there's some issues, even not physically, that take any funding to fix, like where do tenants park?
I assume that we will, after looking at this ordinance, that we will decide how we're going to sign it, how we're going to inform people, et cetera, but that is a discussion that we'll have
Yes.
in the future.
Well, they have been enforcing the parking, nobody told them to do that, they just speed,
We'll address that.
nice days.
So, we do not need an action for the Main Street parking?
Not if our plan is to take no action.
Yeah. Is
But
that,
I do think we need to definitely look at parking, the parking law overall, related to the village residents. Just because the goal is to put more people living downtown, that's the whole DRI idea. That's only gonna make, like, your problem worse.
So, if I can jump in. So, the gentleman had a question, kind of almost like a permit parking type of a thing. You know, if you're a resident, then you can put a sticker in your window and be able to park, you know, wherever it might be. My understanding, every time we've looked at that from a legal perspective in the past, municipalities can't enact a permit parking scheme without the state specifically authorizing it by special statute. You know, so there's a lot of places that have it, and those are all places that, you know, at some point in the past got that special permission. The reason being that roads are for the public. And parking is a public accessory good. You know, either everyone gets it, or, you know, we can as a village restrict it by hours, but, you know, then everybody's kind of affected the same way. If we start reserving spaces for residents, then we're taking a public good from the public. And that's why it requires special state action. At least that's the last time I looked at it. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago for another village in the southern tier. So, you know, happy to look at it again and see if anything's changed, but I just want to make people